Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everybody, depending on where in the world you're joining from today. I want to start by saying that I genuinely appreciate EC Council University for putting this series together, first of all, and I appreciate every one of you for being here. I know your time is valuable, and I don't take it lightly. So thank you very much for being here. What I want to do today is have a real conversation with you all, not a surface level one. We're going to talk about what is actually changing in cybersecurity because of AI, what skills you actually need, and I'm going to give you a concrete roadmap you can start working on this week. Practical, specific, and actionable. So let's get into it. Before I get started, I want to take about 60 seconds or so to tell you where I'm coming from, because the context matters when you're deciding whether to trust somebody's on a topic or their take on a topic. First of all, I spent over 40 years in cybersecurity, physical security, and law enforcement, and I've worked on all sides of it. I served as a federal special agent across 5 different agencies. I'm a 4-branch military veteran, so I served in the Navy, Air Force, Army, and currently in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And I finished my federal career as Deputy Director of the Homeland Advanced Recognition Technology, or HART program. So every time you pass through TSA, you can think about me. When they take your picture and you go through and put your ID in and everything, I've done that at the Department of Homeland Security. That's the biometric identity system used across border security, law enforcement, and immigration. So when I talk about securing automated systems that handle extremely sensitive data, I'm talking from experience, not just from a textbook. Today I run CertifyIT Academy, as you see on my shirt. I teach at the graduate level at Virginia University of Science and Technology. I'm the Director of Cybersecurity Programs. I've been an EC Council Board Advisor since 2018. I host a Cybersecurity Professor on YouTube, where I have over 28,000 subscribers who tune in for exactly this kind of career and skills conversation that we're having today. And I've written several books, about 13 books on cybersecurity, including CyberSense, right here, which is made the Book Authority's top 100 cybersecurity books of all time, and books on things we're going to discuss today, like user behavior analytics. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about cloud security. I wrote a book on that as well. And of course, AI security. And this is one you really want to look at if you're looking at AI security, AI powered defender. I say all this not to run down a resume, but to give you confidence that what we're going to cover today is grounded in real world experience. So let's get into it. So here's our roadmap for the next 35 minutes or so. We're going to start with the landscape. I'm going to talk about what's actually changing in cybersecurity because of AI and how dramatically the job market is shifting as a result of this. Then we're going to get very specific about the skills that matter right now. Not a buzzword list or anything like that, but a real breakdown of what to prioritize right now and why you should be doing it. And from there, we're going to look at how AI has been applied in 3 areas that are transforming security operations today. I'm going to talk about threat detection, I'm going to talk about incident response, and I'm going to talk about vulnerability management. And then we're going to walk through a 4-phase roadmap that I'm going to give you to build your AI security expertise deliberately and strategically. And we'll close with the governance and ethics dimension, which I promise is not a dry compliance lecture that I'm going to try to give you, but something that I think is going to generally change how you position yourself in this field. All right? So if you're good, let's go ahead and get into that. So I want to start with a reframe that I think is important. People keep talking about AI as the future of cybersecurity. And I want to just push back on that a little bit, because the future is a phrase that gives people permission to wait. It implies that there's still time for you to get ready. I want to tell you this, there isn't. AI is not the future of cybersecurity, it's the present. It is operating right now in production environments at organizations of every size and every sector. Your future employer, or maybe even your current one, is almost certainly already using AI-powered tools in their security stack. The question is not, will AI affect cybersecurity? That question has already been answered. The question is whether you be prepared to operate in that environment, or whether you will spend the next 2 years, just playing catch up. You don't want to be playing catch up. Here's what the shift looks like on the ground. Organizations are already deploying AI to detect threats at a speed and a scale that no human team can match unaided. We got to have this stuff. You know, a mid-sized enterprise generates millions of security events every single day. When I was at IRS, we were attacked over 20,000 times a day that we had to defend. And let me ask you a question. You can answer this on your own head. How many times does the bad guy have to get it right? Just one time. But how many times did I have to get it right? 20,000 times every single day. So AI is the only viable approach to making sense of that volume in real time. They're using AI to automate the early phases of incident response, evidence collection, alert triage, initial containment, before a human analyst even sits down to look at an incident. They're using AI to continually monitor attack surfaces that in the past would have required entire teams to cover manually. So the speed, the volume, the complexity of what modern security teams are expected to manage, AI is not a nice to have in that environment. It's the operational backbone of that environment. And that means the professionals who understand how to work with AI, and I hope that's you, how to direct it, how to question it, and build on top of it are the ones that the industry needs most right now. That's who we're going to help you become right now today. So hopefully you're paying attention. Before I get started though, let me tell you what you need to understand, what you need to understand right now. It helps to understand how far things have already moved. So this comparison isn't ancient history. I'm talking about 5 or 6 years ago, which in our industry is genuinely recent, all right? If you look on the left side, that's traditional cybersecurity. Detection was rule-based, signature-based. You wrote a rule for a known attack pattern, and the system looked for that exact pattern. So the obvious limitation of that was this. If an attacker uses a technique that has no rule written for it, like a novel approach or a zero-day attack, or a slight variation on a known technique, it got through. Log review was manual, which meant analysts spending hours sifting through alerts, most of which were false positives. Incident response was reactive by default. Something happened, you found out about it eventually, and then you responded. Vulnerability scanning was a point-in-time exercise, and security largely operated as a specialized silo separate from the rest of the business. People hated that, They look at me and say, oh man, Jared, what do you need today? Here he comes again with more stuff that he wants to do, more limitations. That's not how I envisioned myself. I thought I was floating down the hall with an S on my chest, for security. And that's not how people saw me. Now, the right column is where organizations are today. Detection is behavioral and anomaly based. So AI models learn what normal looks like across your environment, normal user activity, normal network traffic, normal application behavior, and they flag deviations from that. Now, this matters enormously because it means you can detect attacks that have no known signature. So check that out, no known signature. You don't have to wait to something that you've seen before. This includes threats you've never seen before. Alert triage is automated. So with AI ranking alerts by severity and by the likelihood of them occurring, so that your analysts are always working the things that actually matter the most, not all those false positives that we're used to getting. Response is increasingly automated through playbooks that we have that trigger before a human even looks at an incident. Attack surface monitor is continuous, and security is woven into the fabric of the organization, not cordoned off in some corner somewhere. This is a structural transformation, not an incremental improvement. And this is why the skills picture for this field has changed so significantly. So now I want to talk about the emergence AI-focused security roles that are available to you. And this is just some of them. This is not everything that's out there. But let's talk about what this information means for the job market, because I know that's what a lot of you are thinking about. How do I get into this field? So if you look at this, there are 2 categories of roles worth you understanding. The first are roles that already existed before being reshaped by AI. The second one you look at are roles that are genuinely new, that didn't exist in any meaningful form just 5 years ago. So let's start with that evolving category. The AI security engineer is becoming one of the most critical and I'll say hardest to fill roles in industry right now. And by the way, some of the highest paying too, all right? This is somebody who secures the AI and the machine, the machine language or machine learning systems themselves, the models, the training pipelines, the APIs, the infrastructure underneath those. So as organizations build and deploy more AI, somebody has to secure those systems. And that somebody needs to understand both security and AI deeply. The threat intelligence, the second one, the threat intelligence agent or analyst role is being augmented by AI tools that can correlate adversary patterns and indicators across billions of data points that no human team can process manually. It's just impossible for us to handle that volume of data. The security automation engineer is an increasingly essential function as well. Somebody who builds and maintains the AI-driven SOAR playbooks, all right, and automated response workflows that allow security teams to operate at machine speed. These are roles where AI literacy is not optional, it's the core of the job that you would do. Now let's move over to the genuinely new category. So now we have AI governance and compliance analysts. That's a role that barely existed 2 years ago, and now it's being created at major enterprises and federal agencies and regulated industries as well. So as AI regulation matures, and by the way, it's maturing pretty fast, organizations need professionals like us who can ensure their AI systems meet legal and ethical standards. Machine learning security operations engineers are integrating security into the machine learning development lifecycle from the ground up. So think about, I know you've heard this term before. If you haven't, think about DevSecOps, right? Development teams, security teams, and operational teams all working together more efficiently, but applied to AI pipelines instead of just regular developmental pipelines. And the adversarial AI researcher, those are the people that are studying how attackers weaponize AI systems and build countermeasures against those attacks. All of these roles that you see I have on the slide require a foundation in security combined with a layer of AI literacy. And for those of you thinking about where to invest in your credentials, EC Council's AI-focused certifications like the CAPM, the COASP, the CRAGE are specifically built around the competencies these roles require. I'm going to come back to that when we get to the roadmap that I laid out for you. And hopefully, if you have questions, start getting those questions together so I can answer those for you. Right now, I'm going to talk about the skills now. And I want to resist the temptation to give you a long list of buzzwords because a lot of us don't understand them, first of all. I'm a guy from the south side of Chicago, all right? I need to keep it simple, all right? And also because that doesn't actually help you prioritize what you need to do. So let me give you a clear picture of what matters the most and why they matter. First, and I cannot say this emphatically enough, your security foundation is non-negotiable. Before AI, before automation, before anything else, you need to understand how attacks work, how defenses work, how networks operate, how systems are configured, how identity is managed, all right? AI does not replace that knowledge. AI augments that knowledge. If you don't understand why an alert is significant, AI system telling you it's significant, that's not going to help you. So the analyst who knows their fundamentals and adds AI literacy on top of that is dramatically more effective than somebody who knows AI but can't investigate what it flags. It tells you to look at something, you have no clue what that is. Now, on top of that foundation, there are 4 technical areas that matters most right now. You see them on my slide over here. Data literacy is first, understanding the kinds of data that security tools generate, how to work with it, what AI models do with it. You don't need to be a data scientist, but you do need to understand data well enough to evaluate AI output critically. Some Python scripting is second. Yeah, we got to know how to do a little bit of programming. You know, I took programming 40 years ago with old things like COBOL and things like that, RPG. I had to go back and learn Python. You don't have to be a Python developer or expert, but Python scripting is important. That's the language of security automation. And the ability to write scripts that parse logs, that automate workflows, that build basic detection logic is increasingly expected of you. Machine learning concepts are third. Not building models from scratch, but understanding how models detect anomalies, how they classify threats, how they rank risk well enough to tune them and evaluate whether to trust their outputs once you get those. And at the bottom it says cloud and API security fluency. That's the fourth thing, because that's where most API services live, and that's where attackers are concentrating their efforts. Then there are the analytical competencies down at the bottom, which are honestly just as important as the technical ones. The ability for you to critically evaluate AI-generated alerts. And by the way, when I speak around the country and do webinars, people tell me the critical thinking skills of IT people they need that. We learn a lot of technical skills, but then they give you something outside the box, and you're not able to deal with that. You got to be able to think critical, all right? To know when to trust models, AI models, and when to question those. That's a skill that takes time to develop and is immediately recognizable in interviews when you sit down with someone. Threat modeling for AI systems is a distinct discipline with its own attack surfaces. And communication, translating what an AI system flagged into a decision that a CISO or a board or a regulator can act on. We can't just speak technical ease, I'll just say that. You have to be able to translate that into what the business can understand. That ability to bridge the technical and the strategic is the most undervalued skill in this field. And that one tends to determine your career ceiling. Whether you're going to be that technical person, it's okay if you want to stay the technical person. But if you want to rise up, it's the people who can communicate well are the ones that's doing that, right? So let's look at AI across the security operations lifecycle. Let's try to understand what it is just a little bit. I want to shift now from the what and the why to the how, because I think grounding this in actual practice is where things get most useful for you. The conversation around AI and security can feel abstract sometimes when it stays at the level of AI is transforming the field. That's true, but it doesn't tell you how much or tell you much about that transformation, what it looks like in the day-to-day work of a security professional. So let me get concrete about that. 3 areas stand out as having the most immediate, measurable impact on how security teams actually operate right now: threat detection, incident response, and vulnerability management. These are the areas where organizations are invested most heavily, where the tooling, I'll say, is most mature, and where the skill gap between AI literate and AI unfamiliar practitioners is most viable or most visible. I'm going to walk through each one of these, and I'm going to give you a clear picture of what's changing and what it means for you. So let's start with AI and threat detection. Threat detection is where AI has arguably had the deepest impact on security operations, and it's worth understanding why that is. The fundamental problem in threat detection has always been the volume. We get so much stuff, we get so much junk. A mid-sized enterprise generates millions of security events every single day. Firewall logs, endpoint telemetry, authentication events, network flows, application logs. No team of human analysts can review all of that. The traditional solution was rules. Write a detection rule for a known attack pattern and alert when you see that pattern. So that approach has some real limitations. It misses attacks that don't match the known patterns that we're looking for. It generates enormous volumes of false positives that's going to exhaust your analysts. And sophisticated attackers specifically design their attacks to evade known rules, because the rules are often publicly documented or inferable anyway, which means you can guess them. So AI changes this in a fundamental way. Instead of looking for known patterns, AI-powered detection systems learn what normal looks like in your specific environment. Normal user behavior for your organization, normal network traffic on your systems, normal application activity for your technical stack. And then they flag deviations from that baseline, even if that deviation doesn't match any known attack signature. That's the core of user behavior analytics, what I was talking about, UEBA. That's what modern network detection and response platforms do. It's what allows organizations to detect novel attacks, insider threats, and living off the land techniques, we call it, that rule-based systems simply miss. And to add to that ability to process threat intelligence feeds in real time and correlate indicators across multiple data sources at the same time. And you have detection capabilities that weren't practically achievable 5 years ago. Now, here's the career implication, because that's what you really want to know. And this is the part I want you to really internalize. The AI doesn't replace analysts. We need you. You know how they say AI is going to get rid of millions of jobs? They need those analysts still. What it does is make you, the analyst, who understand it dramatically more effective than the one who doesn't. So if you go for a job and you say, I know IT, I have a brand new cybersecurity degree, you need to also be able to say you know AI. Analysts who understand how these detection models work, what they're actually measuring, where their blind spots are, how to tune them for your environment, and how to investigate what they flag with the right context. Those analysts are operating at a level that's fundamentally different from analysts who are just reading the output and escalating alerts that they see. That distinction shows up in career progression, in compensation, how much money you get paid, and in how quickly you advance. And one more thing worth being aware of. Adversarial attacks specifically targeting AI detection systems are an emerging threat vector. That means that they're also going to attack the AI, not just your network, the AI as well. Attackers are beginning to craft inputs designed to confuse or blind your detection models that you have. So understanding that attack surface, how AI systems can be deceived and how to build defenses against that is becoming, part of the advanced practitioner skill set that we have. Also, the second and third areas where AI is reshaping security operations tells a similar story. AI compressing time and AI and security. Time compression directly transferred to risk reduction. So on the incident response side, let's start with dwell time. That's the time between when an attacker establishes access and when the organization detects and responds to that. Every day of dwell time is a day an attacker can move laterally, escalate their privileges, exfiltrate data from you, and cause damage. Right? We don't want that. Right? Also, they are able to automate evidence. Well, I'll get to that in just a second. But AI attacks that problem directly. AI-powered platforms analyze incoming alerts as they come in and rank them by severity, exploitability, and likelihood in real time. They automate evidence collection, pulling relevant logs, capturing memory artifacts, reconstruction attack timelines, so that by the time you, the human analyst, engage it, the groundwork is already done. Your SOAR platforms integrate with AI classification to trigger automated playbooks, as you see down here. The moment an incident type is identified, it isolates it at the endpoint. It blocks the IP address. It revokes the credential, all before manual review even takes place. So where used to require hours of analyst work can now be substantially underway in just minutes. So for you as a practitioner, this means your value is shifting towards the judgment call, that critical thinking I talked about. Understanding the context around an incident, making the call on containment scope, communicating with the stakeholders what's going on, rather than the mechanical work of pulling logs. Now, quickly on the vulnerabilities management side, the shift is from periodic and reactive to continuous and predictive. So the old model was run a security scan, run a scan every month, generate a report with hundreds or thousands of findings. One time at the Army Research Laboratory, I used to just run scans every morning, my people did, and we hand it to our customers. And my customers were like, what am I gonna do with this? It had like 2,000 findings on it. They wanted to know what findings were not false positives and what was really relevant to them. I had to go back to my team and I had to start having them go through this every day to figure it out. Also attempt to patch the most critical systems or the most critical ones that they see before the next scan happens and then repeat it. That model breaks down in modern environments where cloud assets now, we're talking cloud now, spin up and spin down dynamically. Containers are deployed and destroyed in minutes. And the attack surface changes faster than quarterly scans can track. So AI-powered, and by the way, this talks about access management, vulnerability management. AI-powered vulnerability management does continuous discovery. It knows what assets exist in your environment in real time. And critically, it moves beyond raw severity scores, or CVE, as you see here, scores, to predictive exploitability. Which vulnerabilities are attackers actively targeting right now? Environments similar to yours with your specific technology stack. That's fundamentally different and far more useful question than which vulnerability has the highest CV score, and AI is the only practical way to answer it at scale. So the common threads across both of these is that AI handles the volume and the speed, and you handle the judgment. That's the partnership that modern security operations are built on. So now, let's talk about how you can get into this. Now I want to get into the part of this conversation that I think is the most practically useful, which is how you actually build these skills in a way that sticks and compounds over time. All right. Here's the pattern I constantly see among aspiring security professionals. The field moves fast, and when things move fast, there's a temptation to chase everything. I get it. I used to get certifications in all different kind of things, and I was not focused. I had to focus. You want to know every new tool that drops, every new framework, every new certification that gets announced. And I understand that impulse, again, because I had it. It comes from a genuine desire to stay current, but it tends to produce shallow, broad knowledge rather than deep, compounding expertise that I had to build later on. And shallow knowledge in cybersecurity gets found out fast, y'all. In an interview, in an incident, in real world environments, it becomes apparent quickly. I tell my college students this all the time. The professionals I see succeeding consistently are the ones who build deliberately. They make intentional choices about what to learn in what order, and they execute those choices with discipline. So here's the 4-phase roadmap I would give to anybody asking me how to build a real AI security career from wherever they are today. Here we go. This is your 4-phase roadmap. All right, this is the path I map out for you building your AI-driven security career. Phase 1 is the foundation, and it covers roughly your first 6 months. This is your non-negotiable baseline: security fundamentals, how networks operate, how systems are configured, how common attack techniques work, how defenses are structured, operating systems at a level that lets you investigate what's happening to them, Python scripting, cloud basics, understand how cloud environments are structured. Every phase after depends on this phase. So I've seen people try to skip to the AI and data literacy phase before they have a strong foundation, and they consistently struggle to understand what the AI systems are actually doing or why it matters. Phase 2 is AI and data literacy, covering roughly months 6 through 12. This is where you build the layer of AI knowledge that connects to security practice. You're learning data analysis, how to work with structured and unstructured data, how to read and interpret the outputs that security tools generate. You're learning machine learning concepts at a conceptual practitioner level, how models are trained, how they make predictions, what anomaly detection actually means mathematically, and how you evaluate whether a model's output is trustworthy in a given context. You're getting hands-on exposure to SIEMs, security incident event management platforms, and SOAR workflows, because that's the operational environment where AI capabilities are showing up most in security stacks today. The goal of this phase is clear: understand AI, what AI systems consume, what they produce, and what it means when they flag something. Phase 3 is applied security practice, and it spans roughly 12 months through 24. This is where everything comes together in a real security context. You're doing AI-augmented threat hunting, using AI tools to identify anomalies, and then applying your security knowledge to investigate and validate those. You're building detection engineering skills, writing and tuning detection logic that leverages AI capabilities rather than just inheriting whatever default rules come with your scene. You're doing vulnerability analysis using AI-powered platforms. And this is the phase where investing in credentials specifically designed for AI security practitioners pays off. So I'm coming back to EC Council's CAPM, the COAFs, and the CRADE certifications. They're designed precisely for this phase. They validate the applied AI security competencies that employers are looking for and that differentiate you from practitioners who have general security backgrounds, but haven't specifically developed AI literacy. And without it, you're going to be left behind, you all. And the last part is specialization and leadership. So beginning in year 2 and continuing throughout your career, by this point, you have a strong foundation, you have AI literacy, and you have real applied experience. Now you choose a lane. Is it AI red teaming if you're drawn to offensive work and want to focus on AI systems that are attacked? Is it machine learning security operations if you want to work in the intersection of engineering and security? building secure AI development pipelines, AI governance and compliance, which is what I love if you're drawn to the policy and regulatory dimension, detection engineering as a specialization, or adversarial AI research if you want to work in the frontier of understanding how AI is being weaponized and how to defend against it. All right, this is how you move from practitioner to recognized expert, and what transitions is what makes careers in this field genuinely unlimited. Just a couple more for you all real quick. I want to spend just a moment on something that most presentations on AI and security skip over, and I think that's a mistake. The governance and the ethics dimension of AI security is not a compliance checkbox. It's a genuine career differentiator, and I'm going to explain why. And right now, I'm enrolled in law school in compliance just to learn this compliance stuff. So here's the statement I want you to write down if you're taking notes. Knowing how to use AI is not enough. Knowing how to use how to use it responsibly is the differentiator. So let me tell you what I mean by that. As organizations deploy AI security tools and they are deploying them aggressively, they're running into a set of questions that their AI vendors don't answer for those. Is this detection model biased? And some of them are. If our user behavior analytics systems flag certain users disproportionately, and they are, demographic patterns and things like that. We had that with my biometric systems at the program I told you I was managing at DHS. What data went into training this model? How are they handling HIPAA and GDPR or whatever regulatory framework applies to the industry? Those things. If the AI system makes a decision like block an account, triggers an automated response, restricts access, and that decision gets challenged legally or by an auditor, can we explain how the system reached it? These are real questions being asked in boardrooms right now, and the frameworks to address them are emerging rapidly. The NIST AI risk management framework establishes governance principles for certain types of AI. The EU AI Act is creating binding regulatory requirements for AI. There's emerging US federal guidance moving towards requiring organizations to demonstrate that AI systems are explainable, auditable, and governed appropriately. So you as a security professional, if you understand this governance dimension, you can sit at the table with legal, with compliance, with risk, with the C-suite, and speak to AI risk in terms that stakeholders understand. So let's move to my key takeaways. I want to bring this home. There are 6 things I want you to take with you today. Number 1, AI is already in your environment. Whether you're a student, an early career professional, or somebody looking to level up, the organizations you're going to be working for are already operating AI-powered security tools. And by the way, so are the bad guys. So the question is not whether AI is going to affect your career, it's whether you're going to be prepared to work in that environment. Number 2, fundamentals first, always. AI augments security skills. It does not replace the need for them. So you need to build a strong technical foundation before you try to layer AI literacy on top of it. Every shortcut here costs you later on. Number 3, 3 areas to master now: threat detection, incident response, and vulnerability management. And where AI is having the most immediate impact on how security teams work. All right, that's where the jobs are, and where the skill gap between AI literate and AI unfamiliar practitioners is most visible. Number 4 is build deliberately, not reactively. Use the 4-phase roadmap that I just gave you. Foundation, then AI literacy, then applied practice, then specialization. I want you to resist the urge to chase every new thing. I'm one of those guys. I chase shiny new objects. Depth compounds. Breadth alone doesn't. Number 5, governance is not optional. AI ethics, explainability, and regulatory frameworks are becoming career differentiators. And last, start now. The window to get ahead of this curve is open, but it's going to close, y'all. The professionals who are building real AI security expertise today are the ones organizations are going to compete to hire over the next 3 years. You can be one of those. All right, so that's my 35 minutes, and I genuinely hope that it's worth yours. I want to leave you with one thought before I hand it back to our host. The fact that you're here, that you're spending time on a Wednesday learning about where this field is heading and how to position yourself for it, that already separates you from people who are waiting to figure it out. So now the next step is to act on it. Pick one thing from today's roadmap and start on it this week. Not next month, this week. All right. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can Go over to my Cybersecurity Professor on YouTube. I'll say this. Some of the tools that we're using are obsolete. But here's the thing. They're not so much obsolete as they have to be enhanced and put and used with the AI tools. These tools, for instance, let's talk about a SIEM, Security Incident and Event Management System. It collects thousands, if not millions of data points. And then you as an analyst have to try to interpret those data points. You can't do that. So you have to take that tool and use AI to enhance it, overlay it, and therefore it can go through those quickly and give you the ones that you have to pay more attention to. So yes, they're kind of obsolete because of the bad guys are using technology and they're moving faster than us. But they can be coupled with the tools we have today to not make them obsolete anymore. I hope that answers your question. And that's a great question. I'm gonna say this, I'm a shameless plug. That's what this book is all about, how artificial intelligence is transforming cybersecurity, but not just cybersecurity, but your organization in general. For executive leadership, and that's where I was, you have to make a concentrated effort to actually try to understand how AI can help transform your business. It's not just a cybersecurity conversation, it's an everything conversation. How can it speed up what you're doing with your clients? How can it help you with your strategy formulation? How can it help you transform your products and what you're doing, and even come up with ideas that you may have never thought of? Executive leadership, you have to be the first ones. If you don't understand it, you're not going to buy into it. My job is to get executive leadership to understand it so they can buy into it. Cybersecurity is often seen as a cost center. We need to show you how it can also be an enhancement, how it can work synergistically to get you to the mission and the strategy that you're trying to accomplish. So again, leadership teams, learn AI. Don't learn it at the level where you can go in and actually use it and write scripts and all that. You don't care about that. Learn how it enhances your business and let your experts do the rest. All right. So thinking about that just for a second, first of all, governance is going to be important in anything we do as far as AI or cybersecurity, right? And everything else that we do. Governance is number one. Everything else stems from that. So you say, how do you see governance evolving beyond today's human approval models? Well, here's the first thing I'm going to say. We cannot let AI agents make autonomous decisions. They're going to make the simple decisions, the routine decisions that we normally do. Look at things that can be routine automated tasks. However, anything that's a major decision made that you want AI to work on and make has to go through human eyes first, human analysts. Someone has to make the human decisions. We're not there yet. Remember, AI is just a machine, just a tool. It can only do what it's trained to do, and it only can operate on limited knowledge. As it advances, maybe things will change in the next 5 to 10 years, but right now, they cannot be allowed to be autonomous or make autonomous decisions. So when it comes to governance, again, you put something in place where it never make a decision without human intervention first. Well, I think it'll be great for that. I come from a background, when I was at IRS and DHS, I was running entire programs, not just cybersecurity programs. And we use Agile and we use SAFe for our transformation processes. Some of you probably don't understand that, but Agile and SAFe are ways to put things in production, I'll say that. And with that, now AI can help us generate ideas, evaluate those ideas, look at our backlogs and see where we can prioritize based on what our customer needs are. We still have to have those conversations with our stakeholders as to what their priorities are, but sometimes our stakeholders don't quite know what their priorities are or know what should come first. So with that, we are able to use AI to help us make that judgment call, the critical skills call. Now I'm gonna say this, as you know, or maybe you don't know, AI can hallucinate, so you have to evaluate everything that it says, okay? But the thing is, it's going to speed up the process of continuous planning, prioritizing our backlog to what really matters, and then making sure that when that product goes to our customers, it's the best product that we can possibly give them based on all the factors that we fed into it. And I'm going to say this, just like they always say in IT, garbage in, garbage out. So we have to make sure prompt engineering is very, very important. We have to make sure that we're feeding it excellent information, contextual information, showing the context of what we're operating in, and therefore it's going to give us the output that we need to make all the decisions that you just asked about. The biggest thing I would say for you as an executive is take a foundational course. Take a course that's going to give you I've seen things out there and maybe EC Council will develop something like this, but AI foundations for executives, so that when your people come to you with ideas and with things that they want to do, you understand the language that you're speaking and understand how it's going to help you. So all you need as an executive is an AI foundations course. So when they say they need machine learning or a large language model or natural language processing, you know what they're talking about and you know what it can do for you. You know how it operates. That's all you need. You need the surface level information. So I'm gonna say one more thing. Take a transformation course, how I can transform the business, and take a foundations course. That would be enough. Executives don't have time. You don't have time to deep dive into all these types of things to try to figure this out. Get the survey. I'm gonna tell you, shameless plug again, this book will tell you everything you need to know about AI security, but it goes further. It tells you about how it can transform your organization in general. So read something like that. It don't have to be my book, but read a book like this that'll give you the overview of what the foundation of AI is. I'm gonna say this, the plan I gave you was the 4-phase plan. I don't think it's ever gonna go out of style. Cause I'm not telling you to go learn technical tools. I'm telling you let me take a step back. I don't know every piece of technology. I'm not trying to know that anymore. I don't know every programming language. I don't know all the skills, but at DHS, I had 290 people working for me with various skills. As a supervisor, you don't have to know or be able to do what everybody does. So what I gave you, those 4 phases, will never go away. That's learning. You learn the basics. You learn the AI specifics, which whenever they change, you learn the specifics, and you go deep into your specialization where you want to be. Being in AI is a continuous process. Being in IT general is a continuous learning process. Accounting, you can learn accounting skills from ancient times and still do accounting. You can't do that in IT. We change you say be 18 months, every 6 months there's changes. So you say the plan today is likely to be outdated in a few months because of the high speed. That's why you stick with the basics. Don't try to learn everything. Try to learn the fundamentals, the concepts, the critical thinking that's going to allow you to use whatever tool comes out. I don't know I know ASM, Amazon. I don't know everything about the other 2 types that we have, Azure or Google, but the concepts of cloud security is the same. Infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. Privileged access management is never going away. No matter what tool comes out, we have to manage access. So, we have to have governance. So the plan is not going to change. It's just going to be putting other pieces into it. We're playing chess, not checkers. And chess game is not going to change. That's how we avoid that bottleneck. Stick with the concepts. Don't try to get to the specifics. This is a real easy one. Every area of cybersecurity is being augmented with AI. Because if you're not doing that, you are not going to keep with the bad guys. Trust me. Bad guys are using it for emails. Now they're doing targeted email that's specific to Derek Smith, and it might even. Well, I'm gonna get to this in a second. And it's going to sound like it's coming from you to me, and it's very believable. They are able to enhance their attacks where we use a signature-based attack that I mentioned before. We're looking for a signature, and they can change the attack every few seconds. But now that old system is not able to detect it. Every area of cybersecurity is being changed and being touched. The bad guys are doing it, so if we're not doing it, we're going to be left behind. If I'm going to start with an organization today, and I go in and I find they're still doing it the old way, my first thing is to find out how we can enhance everything they do with AI. But it's everywhere. You're not going to find any area in cybersecurity or business that is not being touched by AI. Business are being transformed by AI. And let me say this. It used to be that people come in with cybersecurity and like, oh man, cybersecurity is transforming business. Now we have to work our business around security. Well, now we have to work our business around AI. But we're not really working around it. We have to find out how AI is enhancing our business. The goal of cybersecurity and AI is always to make the business mission better and to make them able to do it more efficiently, more quickly. It's the business first. AI and cyber just enhance that. And that's what people have to understand as technical people. We're not the end all be all. We're there to enable the business to do their job, to do their mission. Right? I get passionate. I'm sorry about this stuff. So I'm going to start with what we talked about earlier today. I'm going to give you 2 ways of doing it. The hardest way is to go back to school and get a degree or something in AI, master's in AI. We have that at our college or something like that. The easiest way to do it is to do programs like EC Council have. Get those certifications that you need in AI. There's all kind of certifications out there. You have to choose where you want to go to enhance it. But look at the certifications that they have here at EC Council. That's going to be the first phase. And not just get a certification to say, I have a certification, but dive into those courses that they give you so you actually can understand what it is. You're already at a head start. You're a security architect who understands all the concepts of security. Now you have to just see how AI stacks on top of that. You have the tools, you have the skill, you just need the AI language to go along with it and to show how AI enhances it. By the way, I told you earlier in my webinar, AI also brings its own threat vectors along as well. So as a security architect, you have to know that when I bring AI into the organization, I'm bringing more threat into the organization. And how do I guard against that? So understand your tool. By the way, by learning the things that EC Council and others teach you, when you know that, you can evaluate the tools and you can go beyond the hype of what the tool salespeople are telling you. It's going to do all these things. If you understand what it really can do, you know what to buy and what to spend your hard-earned or your limited security dollars on. So yes, security architect, go take a few certification courses, not 20, not 10. Take 3 in the area that you want to look at. Look at the 3 we have here and more to come. Hopefully I answered that question. And by the way, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn for all your other questions and guidance on how to do these things. All right, well, one of the things is prompting. I think the biggest one is prompt injection. And this is where the models themselves, the AI themselves, bad guys are, just like you come up with a prompt, bad guys are able to come up with prompts that will fool your AI. So now when your AI is utilizing your environment for security or whatever, it's already, remember I said garbage in, garbage out? It's already using things that bad guys have changed, have enhanced for their own benefit, and now you feed them directly into your system. I'm gonna tell you another problem we have too, is that most of the AI that we use in our environment comes from Claude or ChatGPT or whatever else is out there. So we're still sitting on those basic things, those basic platforms. So our information can be leaked. Our information can be, if I do the right prompt, I can get information about your organization. Privacy is a concern. So those are the type of vulnerabilities seeking into AI. And I can give you a long list of other things as well. So how do you mitigate against those? You have to make sure that you evaluate the AI you use. You have to understand how are they protecting themselves through Claude. Maybe have your own specialized AI built inside your organization like we did at DHS and some other government agencies are using. Understanding those platforms and what their vulnerabilities are and how you can work around those vulnerabilities. Yes, those are some of the big ones. But the biggest thing is prompt injection is one of them. All right, and the tools and not understanding how those tools make you vulnerable. One thing I want to say is that AI is here. It is not going anywhere. And those who don't grasp it, those who don't understand it, you're going to be left behind. If you're a C-level executive here and you're watching this right now, you have to understand how it's going to affect your business, because it's going to affect your business. If you don't, again, you're going to be left behind. You're going to be the next thing on the news, the next company someone is reading about because someone took advantage of your organization or got into your network or whatever because you didn't understand AI. For you who are moving into the profession, if you don't understand the concept of AI, again, you're going to be one of those on the list of 90 million jobs they say that are going to be replaced. Yes, jobs are going to be replaced, but new jobs are going to be there. If you understand AI and you have these tools, you're going to be on that list and you're going to be compensated very well for that. That's what I want to leave you all with. Thank you so very much. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. It was a pleasure being here. And I'll see you again, maybe some of you in class. Thanks, everybody.